Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a traditional Japanese Rakugo comic storyteller, and my name is Katsura Sunshine. My favorite Japanese food in the world is yakitori. You know, the chicken skewers, and they divide up the parts of the chicken. Oh, it's just exquisite. I love the atmosphere, the lively atmosphere, the kind of immediate family atmosphere that you get at a small yakitori shop. And in fact, it was the owner of a yakitori shop that I used to go to. I loved yakitori so much. I used to go to this place in Yokohama 8 times a week. And it was only open 6 days a week, so you can imagine I went twice a day on some certain days. I went to the early yakitori and to the later yakitori, and it was the master, the owner of that yakitori shop, who actually introduced me to Rakugo in the first place. So here is a little bit of a tribute to yakitori with an original Rakugo story about yakitori. Hello, Jinbesan. Hello. Are you there? Oh, I was wondering who it was. It's you, Bobby-kun. Come on in. Jimbe-san, let's go for some old-fashioned traditional Japanese food. Oh, traditional. Sushi? No. Soba? No. Rice? Rice. Jimbe-san. Who goes out to eat rice? No, yakitori. Ah, yakitori. I love yakitori too, but actually, yakitori is not traditional. It's actually relatively new. Really, Jinbe-san, I always associated yakitori with traditional Japanese food. Yes, well, yakitori is certainly Japanese. I cannot argue with that. It is Japanese, but it is certainly not traditional. Really? Really? Bobby-kun, have you ever seen a statue of Sakamoto Ryoma or Shotoku Taishi eating yakitori? No, that's true, but I have never seen a statue of Sakamoto Ryoma or Shotoku Taishi eating sushi either. Well, sushi is relatively recent itself. Really, Jimbe-san? I have seen ukiyo-e woodblock prints of people eating sushi in the streets in front of the theaters, and that must be at least a couple hundred years old. Bobby-kun, a couple hundred years ago is yesterday by Japanese standards. Yakitori is even more recent. In actual fact, Japanese people in the Edo period did not eat meat. Beef and pork were strictly forbidden. They did not really eat chicken. If they did eat some kind of bird, it would be a quail or a sparrow or a pigeon. Generally, the smell of cooked meat was not attractive to people. They didn't like it at all. Jinbe-san, I can imagine they didn't like the smell of meat if they were cooking pigeons all the time. Doesn't sound attractive at all. Even for people who did want to eat meat, they had to get around the rules one way or another. Can you imagine what kujira nabe is? Kujira nabe. I've never heard of it, but kujira is a whale, and nabe is a kind of a pot or a soup or a stewy kind of dish. So I guess it's whale soup? Boar. No, Jinbison, that's quite exciting, actually. What is? Whale soup. Boar. Okay, Jinbe-san, if you say so, it sounds exciting to me. If it was boring, why eat it? No. I did not say boring. I said boar. Boar, wild boar. You see, you weren't supposed to eat meat, so in order to eat meat for the people that did want to eat meat, for example, if they did want to eat wild boar, they had to come up with some other name for it so people didn't know that that's what they were eating. So they used to call the wild boar yama kujira, which means mountain whale. Well, it looks a little bit like a whale in its shape, and it's running around the mountain, so they called it the mountain whale. They put that in the nabe soup, and they called it whale soup, kujira nabe. They had to think of a lot of ways of getting around things in the Edo period. You see, the Edo period was very, very restrictive. For example, men were not allowed to wear very bright colors or designs on their kimonos. So what they used to do is wear very plain kimonos, navy blue, gray, brown. And on the inside of the haori or the petticoat, they would have these elaborate designs which no one could see. You would only be able to see it when someone took off their haori. Even today, when a man takes off his navy blue haori, you can see on the inside a beautifully elaborate drawing of a samurai or Mount Fuji or a crane or a turtle or some auspicious symbol. Beautifully drawn on the inside of the haori. You would only be able to see it when he takes it off. This is the Edo spirit of iki, or hidden sophistication. Ah, Jinbe-san, I always thought that Japanese culture had so much sophistication because so many of the greatest and most interesting, valuable aspects of Japanese culture, whether it be food or clothing or fashion or anything, are actually hidden from view. And you're telling me that this spirit of iki was actually born of necessity. You are saying there's actually a reason that everything is hidden. Exactly. This is how so many things got nicknames. Nicknames? Ah, Jinbe-san, it's a little bit like Cockney when they say trouble and strife when they really mean wife. Exactly. So when you go to eat sushi, for example, you'll hear someone ask for some more nabina, which is tears. They actually mean wasabi. Ah, I understand the feeling behind this, Jinbe-san. When I eat too much wasabi myself, tears come streaming down my face. It's a good code name. Exactly. You know the maki sushi, the roll sushi, a cucumber in it? It's called kappamaki. Jinbe-san, kappamaki, kappa. Isn't that the fictional Japanese animal that's always swimming along in the river? Why do they call that kappamaki? Did the kappa like to eat cucumber? Actually, you're not far off. That is one theory, that the kappa love to eat cucumber. Another theory is that when you slice a cucumber, the sliced cucumber looks exactly like the kappa's head. Different theories for these things. Rice is nicknamed shari. Shari. Why shari? Some people say it comes from bushari, which is the crumbled remnants of the bones of the Buddha, which it resembles. Other people say that it's the sound of when you're washing the rice. Shari, shari, shari. All kinds of different ideas about these things. Wow, Jinbe-san, there seems to be a lot of theories. Yes, Bobby-kun, you're right. There's a saying in Japan, Junin Toiro, 10 people, 10 colors. If you ask 10 people their opinion on something, you will get 10 different opinions. That's very much what it is like when we're trying to think about things like the Edo period and Edo Iki, or the spirit of sophistication. But that's what makes Edo interesting. So Jinbe-san, wait a minute, let me get this straight. So they had sushi in the Edo period, and they also ate wild boar soup, which they called mountain whale soup, and they even ate pigeons, but they didn't have yakitori? Exactly. Seems strange, but yakitori only became popular in the 1950s when animal farming truly expanded in Japan. What is your favorite kind of yakitori, Bobby-kun? Ah, Jinbe-san, now we're getting somewhere. This is a question I love to answer. I know the answer right away. I love the most basic, the most original form of yakitori, negima. The chicken and leeks. Ah, negima. I like negima too. Chicken and leeks. But you say traditional. You have to be careful there as well, Bobby-kun. Because traditionally, negima is not chicken. What? You mean the most basic kind of yakitori is not yakitori at all? Exactly. Well, negi is negi, so that you know that the leeks existed. But between the leeks where we now have chicken, we had something else. I'll give you a hint. The ma of negi ma stands for a food, and it is not chicken. Well, if it wasn't chicken, what was it? Why don't you try to guess? I think you could probably guess if you put some thought into it. Ma. Let's see, a food that starts with ma. Mapo tofu. That's Chinese food. And anyway, the tofu would fall off the skewers. Macaroni. Italian. Mascarpone. That's also Italian. Mashed potato, marshmallow, McDonald's, margarita. Jinbe-san, I can't imagine. None of the ma that I can think of as food comes up. Don't give up, Bobby-kun. Think of sushi. Everything comes back to sushi, doesn't it? All right, sushi. Madai, mentaiko. Mirugai. No, you're thinking too specifically. It's much more obvious. How do you know mirugai? Anyway, mirugai and mentaiko start with me and mi. This has to start with ma. I'll give you another hint, Bobby-kun. Think tuna. Tuna? Jinbe-san, you're getting way far off here. Tuna starts with T-U. Not even anywhere close to ma. Maguro. Tuna in Japanese is maguro. You know that from the sushi menu, Bobby-kun. One of the most common forms of sushi in the history of Japan. The first one you order whenever you go to the sushi shop starts with ma, and you give me mirugai? Originally, they used to put leeks and then tuna and leeks and tuna and leeks and tuna onto a skewer, and then they used to put it in the nabe, the soup pot, and boil it. So it wasn't even yaki. It was boiled. And they used to call that negima nabe. This got shortened to negima, and at some point it became chicken. Wow, Jinbe-san, fascinating things happen in Japanese culture, don't they? Tunas become chickens. Well, I wasn't saying that a tuna actually became a chicken, but the skewers got that way somehow. Jinbe-san, this is fascinating. Are there any other yakitori nicknames I should know? Lots. Do you know Hatsu? Jinbe-san, I love Hatsu. Heart, right? Heart becomes Hatsu in Japanese. I think you also call it Shinzo, don't you? Yes, exactly. Call it Shinzo, you also call it Kokoro. Wow, Jinbe-san, that's fascinating. You say Hats, which is heart, which comes from the English, and then you say Shinzo, which sounds like a medical term for heart, and then you say Kokoro, which is more the spiritual side of heart. Kind of makes you fall in love with the yakitori, doesn't it? Perhaps they use Kokoro as a little bit of a softer way of saying it. Jinbe-san, Hats, Shinzo, Kokoro. 3 names. That's a lot of names for one chicken skewer. Ah, Bobby-kun. No, 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 no. That is not a lot of names. That's only 3 names. I can give you a chicken skewer that has double that number of names. 6. At least. Wow, 6 names? Which one? Do you know the name of the fatty part just before the tail of the chicken? Ah, Jinbe-san, yes, yes. That's one of my favorites. It's called bonjiri, I think. Exactly. You can also call it sankaku. Sankaku. Triangle. Ah, I see, Jinbe-san. It is shaped a little bit like a triangle. It has other names? Yes, Bobby-kun, it has up to 6 names. Bonjiri, sankaku, bonbochi, bonchi for short, gombo, and teru. Ha! Teru! From the English, tail. Ah, that's fascinating, Jinbe-san. I think I would be a little bit afraid to order tail at the yakitori shop, though. Afraid? What makes you afraid of ordering tail? I feel like they might just take off the tail of a chicken and barbecue it as is and then serve it to me as a tail. I don't think you have to worry about that. Have you ever heard of chochin? Chochin is lantern, isn't it? Yes, yes, Jinbe-san, you're right. They do have the red lanterns in front of all the yakitori shops, don't they? I'm talking about the chochin, the lantern you can eat. Jinbe-san. Now, I have heard that Japanese people eat a lot of strange things, but eating lanterns? Nobody's eating a paper lantern, for crying out loud. No, it's the lantern that's the name of one of the yakitori skewers. It's the uterus of the chicken with some egg yolks still attached to it before the eggs have developed, so you eat the egg yolks with the chicken meat at the same time. When you hold it a certain way, it looks like a lantern, a chochin. Delicious. Wow, Jinbe-san, thank you for shedding light on that one. Very high-level joke. Yes, but Jinbe-san, that does sound extremely delicious. You get the egg yolk and you get the chicken meat. You're eating 2 kinds of taste on one skewer. Yes, you're right. Can you think of any other of the skewers in yakitori where you're getting 2 different meats on one skewer? Huh, Jinbe-san? I can't imagine. I thought in yakitori they separate the meat parts. The parts remain separate and never meet. Very high-level joke. That is usually the case, Bobby-kun. You are right. Breast, wing, skin, neck, gizzard, heart, tail. Usually they are all separate, but there is one that comes as a combination. I'm sorry, Jinbe-san, I can't imagine. Which one is that? Do you know reba? Reba? Liver. Liver? Of course I know liver. But I thought liver was liver. Well, if you're going to say that liver is liver, I would have to agree with you that liver is liver. But the liver skewer that comes in a good yakitori shop is always a combination of 2 different meats. Really? I always thought that liver was liver. Yes, as I said, liver is liver. But if you go to a good yakitori shop, on a skewer, you're going to get 3 pieces of liver, and then at the very end of the skewer, 1 piece of heart. The heart is the same color and the same aroma, a little bit of the same taste, and almost the same texture as liver, so oftentimes you don't even notice. Wow! Jinbe-san, why do they do that? Are they trying to make you fall in love with the taste of liver as well? Well, Bobby-kun, it might have that effect as well, but actually there is a very practical reason for this. If you go to the finest yakitori shops and they are using the finest liver, that liver is very, very soft. And also when it is such fine liver, you don't want to cook it too much. You don't want it to get dry in the middle. So they only cook the outside, and so it remains soft, almost mushy in texture. And if you just put liver on skewers, they will fall off the skewers. They will slide right off like tofu. And so they put 1 heart at the end of the 3 pieces of liver in order to stop the liver from falling. Wow, Jinbe-san. So liver yakitori is a real heart stopper. Very high-level joke. Sorry, Jinbe-san. I really love yakitori, so I should stop making jokes, shouldn't I? No need to skewer it. Extremely high-level joke. Now, if you want to talk about the coal that they use to barbecue yakitori, Bobby-kun, that is a whole other episode. Yes, Jinbe-san. I'm starting to get hungry with all this talk of yakitori. Let's save the coal for another discussion. You do look hungry, Bobby-kun. Your face is starting to look pale, almost ashen. Jinbe-san, that's a very high-level joke on your part. You smoked me. Very good burn. I feel like a turkey. Ah, thank you for the compliment, Bobby-kun. You know, I was just winging it. Jinbe-san, we better go before this goes too far.